Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Goose Creek Board of Trustees to order. The time is 6:01 p.m. Mr. Sampson, was our meeting properly posted?
Yes, it was.
And do we have a quorum?
Yes, we do.
Good. The first item today is to administer the oath of office to a newly elected board member. So I'll call Mr. Benoit forward. And Mr. Martinez, if you'll join Mr. Benoit at the front.
I believe this will work from here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mr. President, members of the board, it's my honor this evening to administer the oath of office to Mr. Jesse Martinez. Mr. Martinez, if you would, place your left hand on this Bible and raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Jesse Martinez, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of Goose Creek CISD Board of Trustees, Single Member District 7 of the state of Texas, and will do the best of my ability preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States and of this state, so help me God.
Thank you, Mr. Benoit. And now we'll turn the program over to Ms. Kendall David for opening exercises.
Good evening, President Clem, school board members, Dr. O'Brien. Tonight, we will start with a presentation of the pledges by Mr. Renteria and begin opening ceremonies with a prayer led by Ms. Barat-Timms. Everyone rise for the prayer and remain standing for the pledges.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you again for allowing us to meet tonight, and we graciously thank our new board members and wish them the best of luck as they take on this new duty and serve our children of our community and our community as well. And thank you, Lord, for all of us, and keep us safe as we continue to move forward in Goose Creek ISD. Amen.
Amen. Please place your hand over your heart and repeat with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Under the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. You may be seated. At this time, I'd like to welcome Erica Foster, our Education Foundation Director, to present a donation from Bakota.
We're always up to something. Good afternoon, Board President Mr. Clem, board members, and Superintendent Randall O'Brien. So I am here today because the Southeast Harris County Community Coalition, Bakota, which is a Bay Area Council on Drugs and Alcohol, is awarding us, the Goose Creek CISD Education Foundation, $10,000. Can I get a round of applause? Thank y'all. These funds will be used for the Resiliency Room project at Peter E. Highland. It will help create a safe space and environment where students and staff can gather to build meaningful relationships, promote trauma healing, mental awareness, stress relief, and overall behavioral change. And we have Maria Salachi, which is the Coalition's project manager, Amber Carter, the Southeast Harris Coalition's coordinator, and Peter E. Highland representatives here with us, and board members. And we'll go up for a picture.
In San Antonio? Richard may join you. Yes. Put him down. Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. Gotcha. But she'll go to the dinner. Yeah. I'm telling him. Yeah. She'll go to the dinner. Not doing her work time.
Next, I would like to welcome Chief Smith for Police Officer Sergeant promotion. Chief Smith, right here.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight we have the honor and privilege to be announcing and celebrating the promotion of Miguel Hernandez to the rank of Sergeant with Goose Creek CISD Police Department.
Officer Hernandez, if you would place your left hand on your heart and raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Miguel Hernandez, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the duties of a police sergeant with Goose Creek CISD, Department of Harris County, Texas, and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States and of this state. Furthermore, solemnly swear and affirm that I have not, directly or indirectly, paid, offered, or promised to pay, distributed, nor promised to contribute any money or valuable thing to my appointment in Goose Creek CISD Police Department. Help me God.
The whole family can come on up.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Officer Hernandez.
Congratulations, Sergeant Hernandez.
Lastly, I'd like to invite Dr. Roxanne Wyatt, our CTE Director, to present Skills USA State Board recognitions.
Thank you. Good evening, President Clem, Dr. O'Brien, Board of Trustees. Thank you for having us tonight. We are here to recognize our State Skills USA competitors. Our first group that we'll be calling up is for cosmetology. The teacher that represents them is Miss Lisa Hatman. First up is Alexis Atkinson. She's a senior at Robert E. Lee High School, and she advanced to state with her emblem ceremony. Next is Giselle Figueroa, a 10th grader at Robert E. Lee, also advancing with her emblem ceremony. Okay. Daniela Mendoza, 10th grader at Robert E. Lee, emblem ceremony. And Marcella Molina, a senior at Robert E. Lee, fantasy hair design and fantasy hair design first place at state. Ms. Hadman. All right, Ms. Hatman, walk up. Our teacher, Ms. Lisa Hatman. Next up is automotive, so our teacher, Jim Ornelas. We have student Daisy Sanchez, a 11th grader at Stewart Career Tech High School. Sorry, wait. Okay, Daisy Sanchez. She had engine short block, superior blue ribbon for state. Jasmine Uresti, an 11th grader at Stewart, engine short block, superior and blue ribbon at state. Oscar Vasquez, 10th grader at Stewart, diesel equipment technology. Ismael Hernandez, a ninth grader at Stewart Auto Trades Tool ID. Jeremiah Saunders, ninth grader at Stewart Career Tech Auto Trades Tool ID. Ethan Sinopoli, ninth grader at Stewart Career Tech Auto Trades Tool ID. All right, and thank you so much.
This concludes our recognitions and acknowledgments.
Those are my ballet tickets. All right, we really do have one more very important acknowledgement. This evening, we, the board, and all of Goose Creek would like to celebrate a woman who has dedicated 40 years to our Goose Creek CISD. Noemi Garcia, who is our administrative assistant to the board, is a proud product of Goose Creek CISD, having graduated from Robert E. Lee High School. She spent nearly a decade in the service industry before she was hired in the administrative office as a clerical position in 1982. In her application, she wrote that she enjoyed working for the district because it had a very good work experience and was looking forward to a new opportunity in education. As most of you know, Noemi is one of the kindest people you will ever meet. You have to dig deep to find anyone that has anything negative to say about her. In fact, I dare you to do that. She takes care of the board, but she also takes care of others. She is one of Dr. O'Brien's most trusted employees, and he knows as well as we do, there's no challenge too big or too small for Noemi to conquer. She is often the first to arrive and the last to leave. She is creative, knowledgeable, and her years of experience in her current position have been an asset to those who have come behind her. Though she received her 40-year plaque last week, the board would be remiss if we didn't recognize her publicly. We appreciate all that you do. We appreciate all of our employees, but especially those that have dedicated their lives to our district for a monumental number of years. And Noemi, you have done that and much, much more. Fun fact, Noemi's application in 1983 said she only planned to stay in her position in Baytown schools for 4 years. You can all do the math. She's done 10 times that. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, 24,000 students, and 4,000 employees, we want to thank you for your unwavering service to the district. We could not do what we do without you. Would all of you please rise and join me as we celebrate Miss Noemi Garcia. You guys know how blessed we are to have her. Whoops. Oh, I'm on now. You guys know how blessed we are to have her. We have some surprise visitors as well. And she's promised me she's not going to retire until I'm not on the board anymore. So we have at least 2 more years to go. So join me again in recognizing Noemi. And that concludes recognitions. Let's see. Has anyone signed up to speak tonight? That's good news. We will now move to approve. You just never know.
It's raining outside.
Praise the Lord. We will now move to approval of minutes, consideration of the May 22nd, 2023 top 10 graduates and regular board meeting. I seek a motion.
I'll move to approve.
I have a motion from Mrs. Guy and a second from, I heard Mrs. Barat Timms first, to approve the minutes as presented. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed or abstain? Have 5 for, 2 abstentions. Motion passes. Discussion items, superintendent's reports. Dr. O'Brien.
Yes, this evening, administration brings before the board the School Health Advisory Council SHAC annual report. Ms. Kennington. And Ms. Kathy.
All right, good evening, Dr. O'Brien, President Clem, board members, and guests. Today, I'm so excited to be sitting in front of you today with Ms. Amanda Kennington as I serve as the SHAC Executive Leader Liaison. My role is to facilitate the smooth and timely flow of accurate information between the district and our amazing SHAC committee. Ms. Kennington is our Healthy Community School Coordinator for the district, but she also serves as our SHAC Chair and Facilitator, so she is really the person that helps to get all of this great information going that you see here in the district. We're here tonight to present to you our annual progress report and accomplishments of the 2022-23 school year. And before we start our presentation, we would be remiss if we did not recognize and thank our parent SHAC Chair, Mr. David Reed, for his leadership, and other members of the committee for their service and commitment to school health. So if we have any SHAC members, I'm going to try to turn my head this way. Please stand for us.
Yes. Lots of great support.
And this is obviously just very a small amount, but a mighty amount of people that we have here to work on our committee. Okay, so what is SHAC? SHAC is a group, School Health Advisory Council. It's a group of individuals representing segments of our community and school district, which provides advice to the district on coordinated school health programming and its impact on student health and learning. And our SHAC duties, of course, are outlined in EHAA Legal and FFA Local. So our membership requirements we see here is through BDF Legal. Every independent school district is required by the state to establish a local school health advisory council. So, of course, we are in line with what the state requires us to do. And a primary goal of SHAC is to assist, of course, the district in ensuring that our local community values are reflected in the district's health education instruction. So the overall ideal is to make sure that not only are our children and our staff as healthy as possible, but that information will also flow to our families as well. And again, as part of the duties of SHAC outlined in the district policy, we also include recommending policies, procedures, strategies, and curriculum for health education that are appropriate for specific grade levels, increasing parental awareness on available community programs and services, and considering evidence-based strategies and techniques to develop, implement, and review the wellness guidelines and goals also outlined in our district policy, FFA Local. Our SHAC is annually appointed, of course, by our local education agency of Board of Trustees, so you all assist us in that in accordance with our district policy. And the majority of members, which we're proud to say, must be parents who are not employed by the district. So we also, of course, want to have as many of our parents as possible that can sit on this committee that can give us a wide array of different ideas. Membership of SHAC strives to reflect our geographic, ethnic, gender, and economic diversity of the district, because that's, of course, very important to us. And on September 6, 2022, the Board of Trustees approved the appointment of 51 members to the Volunteer Advisory Council. The GCCISD SHAC is composed of a majority of parents, school personnel, district staff, community members, and other representatives as needed. And the group of individuals will provide, of course, invaluable advice to the district on methods to advance student academic performance by promoting, practicing, and they also help to coordinate our school health education and services. So every time we get together and have our meetings, we do so in a way where everyone can have a conglomerate and sharing of ideas.
Let her keep going. The GCCISD SHAC is divided into standing subcommittees to address the many health issues that we may see in our school-age children, including, but not limited to, childhood obesity, cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, and mental health concerns. Over 25 subcommittee meetings were hosted this year to ensure that members were engaged in the efforts. The SHAC uses the whole school, whole community, whole child, or WISC model as a framework that illustrates the many ways that the home, school, and community must interact to contribute to each child's success. The focus is directed at the coordination of policies, processes, and practices of the whole school, with the school in turn drawing resources from the whole community to serve to address the needs of the whole child. The GCCISD Full SHAC met 5 times this academic school year. At our first meeting of the year following the board resolution to convene the SHAC to recommend curriculum materials for human sexuality instruction, the SHAC hosted 2 public meetings to garner community feedback, voted to recommend the curriculum materials that complied with those instructional content requirements in law, and then presented those recommendations to the board at a public meeting in December. At the regular meetings, in addition to conducting formal business, the SHAC celebrated campus and district health and wellness efforts to educate students, staff, and families about the benefits of moving, staying healthy, valuing healthy eating, and promoting healthy habits. The SHAC committee gathered data from direct observations, campus healthy school assessments, catch implementation surveys, the employee wellness assessment, and specific activities listed in the wellness plan to measure progress toward district wellness goals. The SHAC voted to continue with the current objectives going forward into the 2023-2024 academic school year. In February, the SHAC community representative from Bay Area Coalition of Drugs and Alcohol led a presentation with the SHAC members about fentanyl in youth. The SHAC learned that the district is implementing both school-based and community solutions to address the opioid epidemic, and will be gathering additional data to support recommendations for evidence-based interventions next school year. The nutrition subcommittee was successful in addressing community concerns regarding time to eat lunch. SHAC members reviewed data from previous campus lunch evaluations, shared board wellness goals that ensured students were allotted minimum time allotments, and they'll continue to observe campuses routinely to monitor implementation. Members also participated in the Goose Call podcast to strengthen communication regarding cafeteria concerns. And GCCIC appreciates the strong commitment of the volunteers that served on the council. Sorry, I couldn't do that and that at the same time. There's our highlights. In accordance with House Bill 1525, the GCCISD Full SHAC Committee meeting minutes and audio recordings are posted on the GCCISD United District website. A notice is posted 72 hours in advance of each SHAC meeting in the central office of every campus in the district, and public comments and questions can be directed to shac@gccisd.net. SHAC work is going to be ongoing. The SHAC will continue to implement the wellness policy goals with support of a diverse set of stakeholders. Communicating, measuring, enhancing, and engaging in wellness will be the focus for the 2023-2024 academic year. And in summary, the School Health Advisory Council would like the board to consider the following 3 recommendations, which are also the continuation of the work that we're doing, just to increase coordination of wellness education efforts and provide all students the opportunity to practice skills to maintain and improve their well-being, including peer-to-peer prevention education efforts. We'd like to continue to increase efforts to provide resources, mental health supports, and develop perspectives through wellness education for staff. And third, increase awareness of physical activity opportunities throughout the school community and during and outside of the school day for all stakeholders as well. The SHAC would like to invite individuals that are interested in participating in the 2023-2024 committee to complete an application. Applications are posted on the GCCIC SHAC website and will be shared via district communication as well. Paper copies are also available upon request. They can contact myself, the SHAC facilitator, Amanda Kennington, via email at shac@gccisd.net for more information. We really appreciate all of you for listening to our presentation tonight. Dr. O'Brien, President Clem, members of the school board, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to present on these ongoing efforts for GCCISD. We'd be happy to answer any questions at this time.
You have a question? No, okay. No, I think we're good.
Thank
you so much for your presentation.
Thank you.
And all the work. It's a monumental task.
Next up, we have budget workshop number 4.
Oh boy.
Where we will be forecasting the future with a crystal ball. The primer is the legislative session did not pass a bill for finance just as of yet, but may during special sessions forthcoming. With that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Clark.
Thank you, Dr. O'Brien. Good evening, President Clem, board members, and a special welcome to Mr. Martinez and, of course, Mr. Campisi as new board members this evening. Hopefully you've been going and listening to those audio recordings when you are that we've been doing for the last, I don't know, year. It probably would help you go to sleep if you have not done that. So other than the sound of my voice, though. So let me just put this in slideshow mode here. There we go. So this is kind of like the grand finale of the, process for approving a compensation plan, which also incorporates in, the entire budget when we come back on the 27th for adoption. But I would like to let my partners here introduce themselves since they're new and jumping in here at the end. So go ahead.
I'm Leanna Dixon, Director of Finance.
They're here for moral support, so please ask them lots of questions. And with that, I will jump right in. Of course, we're in the midst of a special session now, so anything can happen. Governor Abbott has come out with his, abbreviated agenda for the special session, with it being property tax relief and border security. And those are the 2 items that he's come out with in the special session. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Then we're going to talk about preliminary values and estimated tax rates, our debt service, food service, and capital projects budgets, of course, the compensation plan proposal, and then with the aggregate 2024 general fund budget, and then calendar and next steps. So the legislative session, of course, ended sine die on the 27th, and now we are into our first special. And unfortunately, the vehicle for school finance, House Bill 100, died in regular session, and it doesn't look like it's going to be revived unless it would be somehow revived in another special session, because it was not on Governor Abbott's agenda for the special. So, with that died basic allotment increases, teacher raises. They had, lots of opportunities to pass those bills, and it just did not happen. So they added a voucher component to the bill, which pretty much gave it a poison pill for the House, where the House was not going to approve it. So that's just kind of where we are, and it's unfortunate, but that's just where we find ourselves. And as optimistic as we started out in the session, none of that came to fruition. So now we're just hoping that we don't get harmed too badly as the session progresses, and however many specials that we end up having. So that's just kind of where we are on that. We had a $33 billion surplus when we started the session, and basically public ed didn't get much at all. So sorry to be the bearer of that bad news, but that's just kind of where we are. Now we'll talk about some bright spot here. We got our preliminary values. Of course, these are nowhere near final. These are preliminary values that we received from the CADS
in April, the end of April. You see our year-over-year change, and of course, this is definitely subject to change because certified values don't come in until July 25th, and with HCAD's case, because it's so large, August 31st is sometimes the date that we receive HCAD's final certified values. So, and of course, this also doesn't include any potential legislative changes as we progress through the special session. But we're back to normal increases. This is like 5.6% increase year over year, so we're getting back to normal and not those exorbitant increases. I guess this isn't working. I'm going to use this. So on the tax rates themselves, again, we're, because there have been so many ups and downs, changes, turnarounds on everything tax compression, TASBO's recommendation was to just, adopt on, for those 630 adoptions like ourselves, adopt on current law, because we don't adopt our tax rate until September, could be even into October if we needed to. But so we're holding everything steady. We certainly don't anticipate an increase in our tax rates, neither M&O nor INS. Most likely there's going to be tax compression in the M&O rate, which is going to just have a smaller local share of state funding for public ed and a higher state share for public ed. So, but right now we're just holding it steady, until we get our certified values and we're able to see what our actual tax rate turns out to be. And then, of course, any legislation that is passed will be effective 9/1, so that will have to be factored in as well. All right, so with that, the debt service budget you see here does not incorporate any final certified values, but we know that we're going to be fine as far as our tax rate being the 32.5 cents. Right now to generate enough revenue to make our debt service payments. And again, this does not include any legislative changes that could come our way, but we certainly do not anticipate a need to increase our tax rate to make our debt service payments. We're holding it steady for purposes of this illustration and for our adoption that comes in 3 weeks. But you can see here in the, I don't know if this is working at all, but no. But you can see in the 23-24 proposed budget column there with the it has $59 million in revenues and $55.3 in expenditures and gives us a slight surplus. And we have plenty of funds to make our August 15th debt service payments as well. So we're in great shape with the debt service fund thus far. And moving into food service, this is, oops, I don't know why that shows up so large here, but it does. It kind of cuts off the bottom on this one for some reason, but nonetheless, you can see here, see if I can, I'm just going to look at my hard copy since I can't see the bottom here, but we have a very rare problem in fund accounting here, and that is we have a surplus with food service. Actually, that is the bottom, sorry. And we're showing, if you look here at our amended budget, we have like $7 million in reserves there. And then you move over to what we're estimating to have at the end of this year is going to be $13 million. And then 23-24 proposed budget, you see that comes down to $10 million because we have a planned revenue or a planned deficit to spend down our reserves because we're required with food service child nutrition program to only have 3 months reserves in our fund balance. Therefore, we are planning a spend down of that fund balance because it should be somewhere in the neighborhood of like $5 to $6 million, and we have a little bit more than we need to. And so we are making investments in, our food service lines and upgrading equipment and that sort of thing to reinvest in our child nutrition program. So it's a very good problem to have, but we are working through that. So it is a planned deficit, and that's why you're seeing that deficit there because we have such reserves there. All right. The next budget we're looking at is the capital projects budget. This is just the revenue and expenditures for the year that we're planning up ahead, 23-24. We have about $4.4 million estimated revenue incoming, and you can see probably 10 or 15 projects there. We're going to be working on next year and coming to a total of around $4.4 million as well in expenditures, leaving us a balanced budget for next year. So now we start moving into the discussion about the general fund. And this is somewhat of a repetitive slide, but unfortunately I'm having to be the bearer of bad news again. And what we've talked about in the last several meetings on the formula transition grant, it was supposed to be extended with the House Bill 100. It was not. So because House Bill 100 died. And so that could cost us up to $10 million or so. Maybe not that much, hopefully not that much, but it could cost us up to that much for when we're planning next year. When we're sitting here at this time next year planning the following year's budget, we're going to have an additional $10 million possibly that we're going to have to make up. So unless something happens in the legislature to alleviate that, we're there ourselves and about 1 out of 4 districts in the state are going to be grappling with this very same issue. So some more intently than others. One district, Midland, I believe it is, Midland ISD has a $50 million formula transition grant amount to make up. So that's huge. So unfortunately, that's just where the chips fell at the end of sine die. So let's hope that something gets miraculously done, but I don't hold out a whole lot of hope for that at this point. So we could always hope, but not going to factor that into the budget just yet. Pardon? We wish, but no, we're not allowed to do that, sir. But but believe me,
Ms. Clark,
it would be nice.
Maybe you can clarify that debt service, food service, and the capital is not really in our purvey. Where the board is just in charge of general fund.
General fund only, yes, sir. Yeah, you cannot transfer debt service or food service funds to the general fund. Yeah, that's prohibited. So, yes, we can. We can do that. No, now on food service, because that's a federal program, we're not allowed to do it for that reason. And then debt service is because that's governed by elections, bond elections.
Special projects.
Special projects such as like.
He's talking about capital projects.
Capital. Yes, you can transfer in it because that's basically an extension of general fund. Capital projects, that capital project. Now bond projects, no. Absolutely not.
Capital projects is just designated general fund. Correct.
Yes. So, any other questions on that?
Not yet.
Okay. All right. So now the moment we've all been waiting for is the compensation plan highlights. And what we did once we finished the meeting last time, or at the end of last month. The direction that the board gave was to move forward with a 2% one-time salary adjustment for all employees, and it ends up being about $1,300 for teachers. It just varies based on the midpoint, depending on whatever pay grade you're in or whatever pay grade the employee is in. It's based on 2% of the midpoint. And it's $1,300 for teachers. We also added the equity adjustment for the veteran teachers at the request of the board. So we did that in full, that full $532,000 to shore up those veteran teachers and those 15 and 20-year service bands. And so those are two major components. And then just to reiterate, teacher starting salary will be $62,150. Those are the highlights. And then this is just the same slide that I presented last time, rearranging it just a little bit because, the numbers are the same, but we rearranged the items because it's now a 2%. one-time salary adjustment, and it does not add to the deficit because it is still one time. And then, of course, the 15 and 20-year veteran teacher shoring up for those pay grades, it is going to be a recurring expenditure because that's going to be permanent on their compensation, and that's about $532,000. And that brings us to, you see the revenue over expenditures up there at 16.2 before any compensation items are added. And it's going to be, see, only the 532 is adding to that. Really, I mean, the 4.087 million next year will not affect the deficit because it's just the one time. So the revenue under expenditures is going to be about $20.8 million. And to put it into perspective, if you divide that by 50,000 average salary per position, it's about 335 positions. And we still have plenty of reserves in our fund balance beyond that. We have $23.6 million beyond our required reserves. So I know that was a lot, but I tried to keep it as short because most of this is not a surprise. You've seen most of this as repetition as we've gone through the process for the last 6 months, really. And really no surprises. Unfortunately, no good surprises either with our legislature killing House Bill 100, but it's basically the same thing that you all have seen for the last several months. So are there any questions on this compensation model? And there will be the action item under consent to approve the compensation model later in the meeting.
Right.
So.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Question, query. You know, we always come down to the end of the year for the budget and everything. Is it possible to have a flowing, I don't know how I'm going to say this, a flowing update, like maybe every quarter to say, okay, we are here. This is where we started. Can we look somewhere, you know, like a Ouija board, you know, kind of say, you know, to look at where we are and how can we better ourselves at this part of the quarter and then the next quarter and on till we get to the situation where we have to start really digging down into the budget. In other words, kind of an update saying, well, you know, we are falling behind because of X, Y, Z, but if we do this now, we can be ahead and we can drop this situation.
Sure.
I'm just wondering.
It's just difficult because you don't have all your pieces yet, because you don't have your values. You don't know how ADA is going to end up necessarily. You can predict the trends, but, you know, and then when you're in a legislative session, it really does you no good at all because, I mean,
I'm just talking about hypothetical numbers, you know, saying we don't know what they're going to do, but if they do this, we can look forward to this. You know, it's just a hypothetical scenario.
Yeah, we can definitely give general updates. I mean, for sure. I mean, it just won't be anything definite.
I don't know if it'll be definite or not, but at least we'll have some kind of knowledge before we get to now. And, you know, we kind of can say, oh, okay, we look like we're going to be in trouble because the state legislator is not going to do this, instead of it being like, you know, a maul hammer coming down on you all at one time.
Can you call your state legislature and ask them if they could? Whenever we don't have a legislative session going on, it's a lot easier to predict. But when there is one, it's very difficult. But sure, right. Plus this, if that's plus if all that comes to fruition, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much where we're going to be.
He's
So,
talking about
yeah.
I think what you're saying, he wants to see if there's a way we can balance this budget is what he's trying to get at with warnings.
Oh, yeah.
Or methods that how we could approach balancing the budget.
Yeah, we'll be, yes, sir. We'll be working on that. Believe me, we'll be working on that very early and very steadfastly.
Because we're dependent on these clowns in the legislature to do stuff every year, and they're not producing. I mean, and then all these ESSER funds that we lost. That's just another letdown or takeaway that we had.
Yes, sir.
That's causing some of this going into the red.
Right.
But I just think that leaning on the legislature the way we do, we hope we're reaching for the stars, and them clowns ain't doing anything financially for the school district. So
Not this
basing
time.
our budgets on the legislature is probably a thing that we need to change.
Well, that's why I never factored any new revenue into this budget because that's not the prevailing wisdom and that's not best practices to do that. So I never do that because I never want to give false hope, and it's very unpredictable.
Well, I get it. I get it. But over the last two budget sessions that I've been here, I kind of I'm going we're going to get some funds.
We're hoping.
And there again, even you mentioned it to him. And you calling them guys or females are not, it's not going to help.
Not this time.
I'm just throwing this out there as food for thought that, I don't think we need to be dependent on those people in the legislature because they are not producing for us.
Not
I don't
this.
know. The thing is, I don't know where we should go.
I have a quick question. Bridget,
Yes, ma'am.
when I came on board, we were dealing with the ERSA fund, so our budget was looking great at that time.
Yes, ma'am.
In the past year, did the basic amount that the state allotted, have we been that it matched what we needed for the district?
Are you talking about the basic allotment?
Yeah, the funds that we get from the state.
It has not increased. The basic allotment has not increased since 2019.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So we've just kind of been.
It had been 7 years prior to that, since the last increase.
Right.
Wow.
It had been years, and we also experienced since 2019 like 15% inflation.
Yeah.
And what they were proposing towards the end, even before House Bill 100 was killed, was a paltry amount, $50 to increase, which was like 1.5%. When we had almost 15% inflation. So it really still was not, we would have gladly taken it, of course, but it still was not going to close the gap on what the cost increases have been since 2019. So
let me tell you another thing. These legislators that y'all are talking about, they're not focused on public education right now in the state of Texas. They're focusing on school choice. They're focusing on charter schools. That means they're not worried about so much about public education the way they probably that we want them to, I should say.
Yes, sir.
Those are some things that
It's been about, 7 years since any change in those funds. But the state used to balance their budget with the recaptured funds.
Yes. You're catching on quick. Yes, that's recapture dollars. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Right, with the money that we're supposed to receive for the school district, right?
Yes,
They
ma'am.
pad their rainy day fund with our money.
Okay. Wow.
You're
but
exactly
no
right.
increases have been since.
You're exactly right.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
The lieutenant governor also promises all kinds of money, but they won't release it. People keep saying, well, they said they're going to release it, but they never do, and a bunch of broken promises, Bottom line is no money from the
Thank you.
So the real purpose of tonight is to make sure we agree with the compensation plan.
Yes,
so,
sir.
My personal interpretation is you wrote exactly what we requested, but I would like anybody else to chime in if you disagree. Okay, because I think given the state of where we are right now, that's the best we can do, and everybody's going to get some money. We just can't promise it forever.
Right. Yes, sir. That's where we find ourselves, yes.
I have one question.
Yes, ma'am?
On the back one slide, I think it says for active full-time employees hired on or before today.
Correct.
But if they're hired
it means the scale will already be changed.
Okay,
for
that's,
them.
what,
Yes.
I, that's
Yes.
what I thought, but I just wanted to clarify.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I looked at that too.
Yes.
Caught my eye. I was like,
Any other questions?
no.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Let us know if you hear. Wait, do you two have anything to add?
I think you do.
So,
I think you do.
How do you
Time for a question.
how do you feel about
Test question.
Wait, the director of associate director of compensation? Are you good with our compensation idea? Are we going to be able to convince the teachers, nurses, librarians, et cetera, that it's a raise that we just didn't promise permanent? Because you're getting more money. So don't. Yeah, that's where Kristen Cathy comes in. Okay.
That's right.
You get pulled into everything, don't you, Kristen? All right. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
All right. The next item is action items, consideration of the consent agenda. Would you present that, Dr. O'Brien?
Yes, be happy to. Administration does bring before the board this evening for their consideration of the consent agenda item 8A1, donation from Southeast Harris County Community Coalition, Bay Area Council on Drug and Alcohol, Bakota. Number 2, 23-24 compensation package as presented this evening. Number 3, application for an optional flexible school day program for the Peter E. Highland Center and Impact Early College High School. Number 4, contract with Kids Us DBA Fueling Brains for Early Childhood Learning Systems, Integration, Brain Development for Pre-K 3 through second grades. Number 5, interlocal agreement between Goose Creek CISD and Harris County for Community Youth Services, KISE. Number 6, memorandum of understanding between Goose Creek CISD and Communities and Schools of Baytown, Inc., 2324. Number 7, memorandum of understanding, MOU for Harris County Juvenile Justice Alternative Education Program, JJAEP, for the 23-24 school year. Number 8, interlocal agreement for educational services from Fortis Academy, the Recovery High School. Number 9, interlocal agreement for specialized services, High Point School, HS East. Number 10, memorandum of understanding to administer third-party testing to neighboring districts. Number 11, purchase of 11 school buses by GCCISD Transportation Department. Number 12, renewal of auto liability and general liability for Goose Creek CISD. Number 13, first option to extend RFP for food service management services and delegation of authority to the superintendent to finalize all renewal documents required by the Texas Department of Agriculture. And number 14, budget amendments.
All right. Would any board member like to ask a clarifying question or pull any individual item for consideration?
Yeah, I'd like to pull number 11 and number 14.
Any others?
I just have a quick question about number 4.
Go ahead.
Fueling Brains, as I currently understand, it's pre-K only. Are we expanding that through second grade now, or is that something that's already going on?
Ms. Jackson, go ahead.
So is it going up to second grade on those 2 campuses, or?
No, they only go pre-K. That's just the contract just encompasses that in case there's some behavioral issues that they work with certain kids on, but it's only pre-K.
Okay, thank you.
So anything above K is as needed. Okay. Anyone else? All right, then I would entertain a motion to approve 1 through 10, 12, and 13 as presented.
I'll second.
Have a motion from Mr. Renteria and a second from Mrs. Guy to approve consent agenda items 1 through 10, 12, and 13 as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. I see 7 for and 0 against. The motion passes. Mr. Renteria, number 11 and 14.
What's your question, sir?
Are we buying any electric buses?
I hope not.
No, sir. The only thing I'm aware of is Mr. Walterscheid has entertained the possibility of not electric, but alternative fuel buses. But that would be under a grant that we could possibly apply for, and they'd be received with no cost to the district. But that's still under investigation. I don't know of Dr. Price, of any other projects. And this is bond funds, I think you know, and this is the third drawdown on this bond, in the final purchase of buses.
And they are needed.
Yes, sir. As Mr. Walterscheid would say, and he's not here, but I'll speak on his behalf, is to replace the snaggletooth.
Dr. Price.
Number 14, budget amendments.
Dr. Price. That's not on your agenda.
Yep. Number 14.
Yeah.
What's your question?
What are these adjustments or amendments to the budget in the packet?
Yeah.
I want to discuss them.
Ms. Clark?
Do you have a specific one you wanted to just in general?
The three bullets on page 234. The TSHBP, the amended expenditure for custodial supplies, and the reallocation. If you could just speak to those bullets.
So the TSHBP is a revenue source that we receive that currently covers the cost of our wellness clinic. The funds that come in go out for the administrative costs of those services. So it's a wash to the budget. The reallocation of funds, that is just a redistribute the budget between Function 41 and Function 31 for some costs that we were projecting.
So that sort of answers to Mr. Renteria's earlier proposal. Can't we just move things around? And to your point, within the budget code, you can, and that's what that one is. It's
Right.
just a relocation.
And let me just say this to what in keeping what he just said. When I ask questions like that, it's because people have already asked me questions about the budget and what we're doing with some of the money that we have. So I ask
Sure.
questions, just like
Yes,
you
sir.
said. Well, it's in your packet. Yeah, it's in the packet. But we deserve an opportunity to discuss this stuff
Sure.
Sure.
so that we can answer these questions, not just for ourselves, but for our constituents.
Oh, absolutely.
That's why,
Mhm.
I mean,
Sure.
I always ask questions.
The one that does hit the bottom line is the one for the operations and maintenance project request for summer projects. That's the one that's actually the substantial one for various projects. I don't know if Dr. Price wanted to speak to the actual projects themselves, or if you had questions, or okay. Is there anything else that you? Yep.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
And I would seek a motion concerning items 11 and 14.
I'll move to approve consent agenda items 11 and 14.
I have a motion for Mrs. Guy and a second for Mrs. Brought-Tim to approve items 11 and 14 as discussed. Any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. See 7 for, 0 against. That motion passes. Future board agenda items, trainings, meetings. Any requested agenda items to bring forth at this time?
Yes, I'd like, to have some kind of meeting on elections and who conducts our elections. We had a few issues this year in our election
administration put together a report for you, working with Ms. Garcia and her board of election officials. We'll be glad to either have a presentation to you or provide that information to you. Absolutely. Anything else? Future board agenda items?
You know, I left a little bit early on the last meeting, but, you know, we were discussing the bullying committee, and I didn't get a chance to really participate because I had to go to work. But, you know, that bullying committee, I really, you know, we gave that to the principals, or that's what they're wanting to do, I guess. I don't know if we did it. I was gone. But, you know, citizens are the ones that brought this to our attention, and by giving it to the principals, we're knocking out all the citizens' participation and initiatives that they started with this program. And to me, that's kind of counter to what we want for our school district, because we want them to participate. And this committee, and the other thing was, from my understanding, the principals that we're giving it to were not even involved in any of this bullying committee meetings or anything like that. So we're giving it to people that weren't even involved in it, and then we're cutting out the citizen participation, which concerns me. So to me, like I said, this is very important. I don't know if we can address it. I don't know what we did with this from the last meeting because I left. But I would like to mull that over again if we could, because to me, that's a real big issue.
We have the summer months before the next school year starts. Obviously, it might be a good time for you to get an update, and we can provide that to you.
And let me just say this. What we're talking about right now, we went through last year at the same time, and we're going to get all these updates, and we were going to do all these great things. And I'm not knocking anybody. I'm just saying that there's always room for improvement. And we're back at the drawing board again, and now we're not even having that participation. So I really, it's food for thought that, you know, this to me is something that we really need to focus on more and not just give lip service to, because like I said, I was hoping that we did a lot more with the bullying committee, and we didn't really do it. And now we're diverting it to people that have so much responsibility already on their plate that they might not be able to tackle this. And I had mentioned this in the meeting before that, you know, we need to get more people that are not as busy and that want to participate in this partnership with the community. So, just food for thought.
Yes, sir.
I hate to be the only one.
No, but
I remember all this stuff.
yeah, but I think this summer is a good chance for us to be able to get together with the committee and as a board, so we can kind of get like a workshop for that, so we can kind of hear what exactly is going on, what's happening, and then that way we're not out of the loop, because every time we get some type of response from them, we never know exactly what point are they. So I think that may be the alternative to saying, well, they're going to do this, but okay, we know exactly what you're doing, and so now we have a better understanding exactly what are you doing, how you doing it, and what progress.
So she did report, I think it was last month, and then we did have students also report.
Yeah.
So the missing element, and what I'm hearing is the parents. You want to hear from the parents and their level of participation within these, both at the campus meetings and the district level meeting.
Yeah, you know, it's just, I guess we need some more teeth into this committee. That it's just, you know, it's just like I said, here we are. We're going into next year already. We never really got to a point where I thought like, hey, well, you know, I did appreciate the work that they did, and you know, and all the numbers that they gave back in that last meeting we had. That was good to hear. Like she said, I remember the word she said, our numbers have increased, so you know that there's more things happening and more reporting going on, and the children are starting to feel better, or the students are starting to feel better about reporting back to us when there's bullying and so forth and so on. Yeah, I just still think there's more work that needs to be done, and if we put it in the hands of the principals that are already so busy with stuff going on, you know, that I don't think they're not going to be able to get there. So
we have very active participation with Watchdog Dads on the junior high campus, and we have various programs. I'll let them speak to you about, but we'll work together with the administration to get a presentation, but not just a presentation, but an action plan. Okay. Thank you.
Any other agenda items? All right, next board training available is SLI in San Antonio, June 14th through 17th, and we have everything registered. Perfect. And then our next consideration, it seems a little early yet, but September 4th is a scheduled regular board meeting, but that's Labor Day. The 5th is kind of open. The 6th is a Gulf Coast Association of School Board meetings, so we may want to consider the 11th if that would suit admin. But right now, I don't have very many dots on my September calendar, so everybody check your calendar, and the
Patriot Day is the only thing that pops up.
Goose Creek Memorial? 9/11. Oh, 9/11. Duh. Sorry.
Not that Patriot.
Sorry, my brain was on hold for a moment.
Don't feel bad.
So let's tentatively schedule it for September 11th instead of the 4th, and we can always revisit that as it gets closer. No objection? All right. Okay, the board will now recess into a closed session pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Section 551.0717273747576 82, 83, 84, and or 87. No action will be taken while the board is in closed meeting except to check the Astro score. The time is 7:17. I reconvene into open session. The time is 8:21 p.m. No decisions were made while the board was in closed session. Agenda item 8E, consideration of personnel. Dr. O'Brien?
Yes. Administration brings before this board this evening consideration to approve the elections as presented
and
accept resignations and retirements as presented. Exactly.
I move to approve the elections and accept the resignations as presented.
Second.
Have a motion from Mrs. Guy and a second from Mr. Campisi to approve elections, resignations, and retirements as presented. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. See 7-4-0 against. Motion passes.
And administrative positions bringing to the board this evening are diagnostician. We have 2 diagnosticians to bring before you, Leslie Stevenson Henson and Maritza Cisneros.
I'll move to approve the diagnosticians.
Second.
Have a motion from Mrs. Guy and a second from Mrs. Barat-Tim to approve the educational diagnosticians as presented. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. See 7-4-0 against. Motion passes.
Instructional specialist for English language arts, Kayla Forrest, Delina Kelly.
I'll move to approve the instructional specialist.
Second.
A motion from Ms. Guy and a second from Ms. Barat-Tims to approve the ELA instructional specialist as presented. Discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed or abstentions? Or for? 7-4-0 against. Motion passes. We can run through them all again.
Present student support administrators, Dana George, Ryan Rogers, and Luann Taylor.
I move to approve the student support administrators.
Second.
Have a motion from Mr. Campisi and a second from Mr. Renteria to approve the SSAs as presented. Discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. 7-4, 0 against. Motion passes.
And for elementary assistant principals, Braun Pina, Crystal Yancey.
Okay, I move to approve the elementary school principal, assistant principals.
Second.
A motion from Ms. Brought Timms and a second from Mr. Renteria to approve elementary school APs as presented. Discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. 7-4, 0 against. Motion passes.
Junior school assistant principals, Kelly Congdon for Gentry and Amy Maddie for CBJ.
I'll move to approve the junior school AP position.
Second.
Have a motion from Mrs. Guy and a second from Mr. Campisi to approve the junior school APs as presented. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. 7-4, 0 against. Motion passes.
High school assistant principals, Jonathan Abston to Sterling High School, Tori Bernard to Sterling High School, and Kristen Canatella to Sterling High School.
I'll move to approve the high school AP election.
Second.
Have a motion from Mrs. Guy and a second from Mr. Renteria to approve high school APs as presented. Discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. 7-4, 0 against. Motion passes.
And for coordinator of advanced academics and special projects, Dr. Shannon Ramirez.
I move to approve for the coordinated events, academics, and special projects.
And I'll second it.
Have a motion from Mr. Renteria and a second from Mr. Campisi to approve the coordinator of advanced academics and special projects. Discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. 7-4, 0 against. Motion passes. The time is 8:26 and we are adjourned.
Yay! Yay!
And it's 11-1 or 11-2.